Hello Dogs fans, welcome to another episode of After the Dogs Roar. This is episode 28 for the season of 2017. Lots to get through, so let's get straight into having a look at the episode agenda. I'm going to start off the show by overviewing our AFL Round 20 clash, which was held on Saturday at the Gabba against the Brisbane Lions. Looking forward to overviewing that game. I'm then going to get into my round 20 votes for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award. Following that is a look at where we stand on the AFL ladder. I can tell you now that our position has changed after that game against the Brisbane Lions, so looking forward to that. I'm then going to overview our VFL Round 16 clash, which took place on Saturday morning against the Northern Blues. Following that is a look at where we stand on the VFL ladder, and then I'm going to get stuck into a massive clash that is coming up in round 21. It is the Western Bulldogs v the GWS Giants. It is going to be a ripper. Cannot wait for it. And then to finish off the show is the fan favourite segment. It is the 5 fan questions. I've picked the best 5 questions asked by you, the Western Bulldog fans, members, supporters in the Western Bulldogs forum. I'm going to answer those on the show at the back end of this episode. So let's not muck around. Let's get straight into overviewing our AFL Round 20 clash against the Brisbane Lions. So, of course, on Saturday we were taking on the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba. We were coming into this game off the back of 3 wins in a row after 5 weeks, which resulted in just 1 win and 4 losses. So we had really turned our form around coming into this game, and of course we were looking for our 4th win in a row in this game against the Brisbane Lions on Saturday at the Gabba. And I thought it was a very good start from our men in the first quarter. After conceding the first goal of the game to Lewis Taylor of the Brisbane Lions, we kicked 6 of the next 7 in the first quarter and led pretty comfortably, I thought, at quarter time, 42-14. So it was a really, really good start in the first quarter. Of course, previous weeks, in fact, in all of our last 3 wins, our last 3 games, I should say, we have conceded the first 3 goals of the game. We didn't do this in this game in the first quarter, so that was a very pleasing sight, a real positive early on, and we had a real convincing start to the game against the Brisbane Lions. But not all games are won in the first quarter, and it's fair to say the Lions came to play in the second quarter. The Lions kicked 5 goals to 2 in the second quarter to put themselves right back in the frame at half-time. However, we did still have the lead at half-time, which was the pleasing thing, even though we did let our quarter-time lead slip a little bit and let the Lions back in. But that's okay. We still led at half-time, 59-48. The third quarter was a bit of a disaster quarter, though, and this is where it kind of went wrong a little bit. We had a little bit of a patch in the... this was basically the whole entire quarter, a patch where we didn't really play our best footy. We were restricted to only 5 behinds in the third quarter. Sorry, just let me read my notes here. Yeah, 5 behinds while the Lions kicked 4 goals and in the third quarter. So that's 4 goals to the Lions, 0 goals for us in the third quarter, and 5 behinds to us. And the Lions were actually able to hold a lead at 3-quarter time of 11 points. So it was a little bit of a disaster quarter in the third quarter. However, we got back in the lead earlier on in the final term. However, we gave that up midway through the final term, thanks to a couple of back-to-back goals by the Brisbane Lions' very own Ryan Bastanak, that is. However, thanks to the likes of McLean and also Picken and also the Bont, Marcus Bontempelli, were able to kick the next 3 goals and win the match by 14 points. So even though we had a pretty tough patch in the third quarter where we didn't play our best footy and let the Lions get in front and lead at 3-quarter time, the pleasing thing was that we were able to run right through them and get the win in the end in what was a challenging, and credit to the Lions for taking it up to us, but we were able to win in the end by 14 points. The final score being the Western Bulldogs 14-9, 103 defeated the Brisbane Lions 13-10, 89. Let's have a look at the goal kickers. Redpath kicked 3 goals for us, as well as Liam Picken, who had another sensational day on the ground. It's fair to say that. Dalehouse, Bontempelli kicked 2 each, and then Cloak, Hunter, Smith and McLean kicked singles. The best players were McRae, Bontempelli, McLean, Redpath, Liberatore and Biggs. I don't think you can argue with that. Now, there were some injury news to come out of the game. Johannesson was replaced before the game by the travelling emergency in Robert Murphy. He actually was omitted from the side and named as a travelling emergency for the game against the Brisbane Lions. So I suppose they were just planning to take him up there and I guess watch the game and I guess provide his input throughout the game. But it didn't turn out that way because Jason Johannesson had a little bit of a sore back before the game and was pulled out before the game even started. Robert Murphy came in and he played his role very influentially, I thought. And Easton Wood is probably the big injury talking point of the game. He did his hamstring in the game. The good news is that he doesn't need surgery, and I think he's expected to be back running later this week. So he won't take any part in the game against the GWS Giants this Friday night, but he could be back sooner than we thought, which is very, very pleasing because we would definitely miss him if he was to miss the rest of the season. It's fair to say that. Of course, he was very influential in our final series last year. So let's go through the stat areas, what stat areas we actually won. We won the disposals pretty comfortably, I thought, 391 to 332. We won the kicking efficiency by not very much, 70% to 68%. The Brisbane Lions, we have more contested possessions than the Brisbane Lions, 126 to 118. They have more free kicks than us, but that's not really irrelevant, I don't think. We had more marks, only just by the Brisbane Lions, 99 to 96. We were level in the tackles with the Brisbane Lions, 52 apiece, which is quite extraordinary. We won the clearances by 15, 45 to 30. We actually had a lot more inside 50s than the Brisbane Lions, 64 to 37. So again, having more inside 50s than an opponent, but not being able to take our opportunities with all of those or most of those inside 50s. But of course, we did kick more behinds than goals in this game. You know how I think. You know what I think about that. Definitely. We had more marks inside 50 than the Lions, which is very pleasing. They had more hit-outs to advantage, though, 13 to 8. So overall, we got the win, which was pleasing in my eye because I found this as a bit of a danger game, considering that we hadn't won at the Gabba since 2009. So to go over to the Gabba, break that hoodoo, and get a narrow win. We know that the Brisbane Lions are a young, emerging side with a lot of talent. They weren't going to be easy. If any supporter was thinking that the match was going to be easy, then you obviously don't know the game that well. But look, we get the win, which is, it wasn't our best game, but we get the win. We didn't lose, which is, a very positive thing. And, of course, we now look towards our home game against the GWS Giants on Friday night, which is going to be an absolute ripper. So a very good win from our Western Bulldogs side. It wasn't our best performance. The Brisbane Lions took it up to us, but we got the job done by 14 points in the end, which is, I guess, all that matters, really. Okay, time now to get stuck into my round 20 votes for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest award. Let's get straight into it. My one vote goes to Toby McLean, who has had a sensational year, I think. He's surely in the top 5 standouts at the club for season 2017 at the moment. He has been playing some very, very good games this year and has been in some great form, and he had another cracker on Saturday. I thought he had 28 disposals, 15 of them were handballs, 13 of them were kicks, and he did take 6 marks and kicked 1 goal, 1 behind. He gathered 102 fantasy points. I thought he had a real good influence. One of those players who just popped up everywhere and you thought, geez, he's having a really good influence on the game. So Toby McLean, he gets my 1 vote. My 2 votes goes to Jack McRae. He had a really, really good game on Saturday. Probably unlucky to miss out on the 3 votes. I know that Beveridge thought that Jack McRae was the best on the ground. But anyway, he's in my votes, gets the 2 votes, 32 disposals, 15 handballs, 17 kicks. He had 11 marks, which is just fantastic. Didn't kick a goal, but he was able to rack up 126 fantasy points. He had a great day on the field at the Gabba on Saturday and was very influential in our win on Saturday at the Gabba. The 3 votes I've given to Marcus Bonampelli. He was superb, and what I love about Marcus Bonampelli is that he is able to go forward when we need him up forward, play his role up forward, but then when we need him in the midfield, he can go into the midfield where, you know, that's his original position. He can go in the midfield and play his role there as well. So he's got 2 positions in my eyes, midfield and forward, and he plays them both very, very well. 7 marks, he kicked 2 goals, 4 behinds, so he could have had a lot more goals than he got. Yeah, 23 disposals, 17 kicks, 6 handballs. He had a great day on Saturday. He gets the 3 votes for me. So let's have a look now at how that affects the leaderboard for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award. Marcus Bonampelli still leads, especially after those 3 votes he got in round 20. Leads on 21 votes now and is starting to really get away from the other pack down below him. Jack McRae, the next best, on 15 votes. 3rd is Caleb Daniel on 12 votes. 4th is Lockie Hunter on 11 votes. 5th is Luke Dalehouse on 9 votes. 6th is Jason Johannesson with 7 votes. By the way, with that back injury, pulled out, of course, with that back injury on Saturday, I think he might be okay for the game against the GWS Giants on Friday night, which is very, very pleasing. 7th is Toby McLean with 6 votes, and then joint 8th is Jake Stringer, Lin Jong, Liam Picken and Shane Biggs on 4 votes each. Joint 12th on 3 votes each is Mitch Wallace, Tom Liberatore, Zane Cordy and Jack Redpath, and then 16th is Matthew Suckley on 2 votes. Joint 17th on 1 vote each is Bailey Dale, Tom Campbell and the young Lewis Young. So that is the leaderboard for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award. Marcus Bonampelli looking like the likely winner of the award at this present stage, but it's not over yet. Okay, time now to have a look at where we sit on the AFL ladder after round 20 with 3 games to go. The finals are just about a month away now, so very, very close indeed. But speaking of finals, we are in the top 8 at this present stage. We are on 7th and we are on 44 points. We are level with the Sydney Swans and Port Adelaide, but Port Adelaide, or both those teams, actually have a better percentage than us. And of course we play the GWS Giants this week, who are 2nd. Of course you can see that the Bombers, the West Coast Eagles, Melbourne and St Kilda are below us on 40 points each. So yeah, we're in 7th. Of course, we won the grand final from that position last year, and all we have to do now is just keep winning, really. We probably can't afford to drop a game, considering how close it is, and considering that I guess teams from 1 to 11 can actually make the final top 8 at this present stage. So we just have to keep winning, keep performing. This Friday night's game is going to be massive in terms of the context of our season and where we finish. So yep, just keep on winning and we can hopefully solidate a top 8 spot come the end of round 23. I'm not really sure if we can make the top 4. It is possible. I'm not really sure if we can though, but you never quite know. If we can keep on winning, anything's possible. So we're currently in 7th position after round 20 on the AFL ladder. Okay, time now to have a look at how our Footscray Bulldogs VFL side went against the Northern Blues in their round 16 VFL clash on Saturday morning at Icon Park. It was a close game through the entire game, I thought. We had a lead at quarter time of 2-1-13 to the Northern Blues 1-2-8, so a relatively kind of low scoring first quarter, it's fair to say that. The second quarter it was again very, very tight at half time, with the Northern Blues leading by 2 points, 5-3-33 to Footscray 5-1-31. The Northern Blues, however, pulled away in the third quarter and led pretty convincingly at three-quarter time. And, well, supporters such as me were a bit worried at three-quarter time, because the Northern Blues, they were in front by a bit, 10-5-65 to Footscray 6-3-39. But remarkably, our Footscray Bulldogs came back in the fourth quarter, restricted the Northern Blues to only 2 behinds, and we kicked 6 goals and a bunch of behinds to win in the end by a relatively good margin. The final score, considering how behind we were at three-quarter time, the final score being the Northern Blues 10-7-67, defeated by our Footscray VFL side 12-8-80 at Icon Park. And let's now have a look at the goal kickers. Gowers kicked 3, our very own Fletcher Roberts kicked 2 each, Nash, Jamison, Goodyear, Green, Dunkley, Lapinksy and Daglish got singles in this game. The best players were Gowers, Hayes, Dunkley, who returned after that injury. He had a very good game, I hear. Daglish, Roberts and English also getting in the best players. So a massive win really for our Footscray VFL side, considering that we were down at three-quarter time by a pretty hefty margin. To come back and do what they did in the fourth quarter was just outstanding stuff, and yeah, a great win from our Footscray VFL side. So let's now have a look at where the Footscray Bulldogs stand on the VFL ladder after round 16. So our Footscray VFL side are currently sitting third on the ladder. They are on 40 points. They are 2 points clear of Port Melbourne, who have experienced a draw in the VFL season this year. Richmond have fell to fifth, but yeah, we're currently third on the ladder, heading in to the bye. We're having a bye this weekend, and then we're back in round 18 to take on Essendon in a big game at Windy Hill away from home, and they, as you can see, sitting 7th at the moment. So the Footscray Bulldogs sitting third on the ladder, inside the top 4, heading into the bye. Okay, time now to preview our up-and-coming AFL 2017 Round 21 clash. It's the Western Bulldogs taking on the GWS Giants this Friday night, Friday the 11th of August. It starts at 7:50 p.m. and it is taking place at the glorious Etihad Stadium under the roof. We're back on the Friday night stage. Our free-to-air viewers who don't have pay TV can watch this game on free-to-air through the channels of 7, and of course if you have that pay TV option you can watch it on Fox Footy. I'm very, very excited about this game because I'm actually attending this game on Friday night. I must be honest, I haven't been to a Western Bulldogs match this year. The reason for that is because I live my life outside of Melbourne in Hobart and am always very busy on the weekends doing other footy related things. I do catch all the games on TV, of course, and watch every game, but this is my first Western Bulldogs game live in 2017. I'm flying over on Friday, seeing a couple of other games in round 21 as well. Cannot wait for this clash. Of course, they met earlier in the year at Manuka Oval, or I think it's called another name now, but you know where it is, in Canberra. The GWS Giants beat the Dogs by 2 points in that game. It was a thriller. We actually had the lead at half time, and yet we got beat. So it was probably a game we let slip and probably should have won. But look, I'm a bit confident about this game. We will have some ins and outs, but I believe that the GWS Giants' form in Melbourne hasn't been so great. I don't think they've won a game in Melbourne this year. After 3 attempts, I think. So they've had a pretty poor run in Melbourne, especially at Etihad Stadium, where they've played there 2 times this year. I think this is their third in 2017. They played Carlton and St Kilda there and got rolled both those times, but. They've met 8 times, these two sides. Dogs have won 5 of those. The GWS have won the other 3. So we do have the advantage over the newly GWS Giants, who of course only entered the competition not long ago. But it is going to be a very good game to watch. Not going to be an easy game. The Giants played a really good match against Melbourne on Saturday. It was a really good performance by them. Of course, they have been out of form, I guess, the last month. The last couple of weeks, I suppose, but they've seemed to put themselves back in the finals contention and premiership contention, and put themselves right back in the frame in good form. So it's going to be a really good game. I'm expecting a good game. I cannot wait, and I'm expecting our Western Bulldogs side to win. It won't be easy, but it should be a really, really good clash. Cannot wait to attend Etihad Stadium and watch this game live. It is on Friday the 11th of August, 7:50 p.m. Cannot wait. Hope to see you all there. Okay, now before I get into the 5 fan questions, I just want to quickly congratulate Matthew Boyd on a sensational career in the AFL for the Western Bulldogs. How good of a player has he been for our great club of the Western Bulldogs? Let's just go through some of his career best things. He debuted in 2003, which was such a long time ago now. 291 games. He was captain between the years of 2011 and 13, where he endured some tough times as captain, considering that we weren't really making the finals in that period. He has achieved 3 Sutton medals, 3 All-Australians, and he, of course, has 1 premiership to his name, being involved in the 2016 premiership side. He has been a player to remember, and I will never forget him. I'll always think of him as a true champion of the Western Bulldogs. So congratulations, Matthew Boyd, and let's hope he plays a game before the season ends. Okay, time now to get stuck into the 5 fan questions. Our first question is from Matt Button. He asks, with Wood out and Murphy to possibly be rested, and JJ and Stringer expected back, and Dunkley performing well in his first week back in the VFL, what would be your changes for this week's game and why? Well, before I get into my straightforward answer, of course, Wood and Murphy, the possible outs for this week's game against the GWS Giants. You would have to think that JJ, Stringer, Dunkley, and even Matthew Boyd are all in discussion, selection discussions for this week's game against the GWS Giants. But to give you a straightforward answer, I would, assuming that Wood and Murphy, well, Wood's definitely coming out this week, but assuming Murphy's coming out as well, I would have my outs as Wood, Murphy, and in would be JJ and Stringer, assuming that they are both 100% ready and right to go and injury free. If a third player was to come out, it could possibly be Webb or Smith. I didn't think those two played really great games on Saturday. One of them could probably come out for Dunkley, who might come in, or even Boyd, who might be a chance. I've been hearing that he's a possible chance for Friday night's match against the GWS Giants. But to give you a straightforward answer, once again, Wood and Murphy out and JJ Stringer in. We definitely need JJ for Friday night's match. There's no question about that, and it would be great to have Stringer playing a forward and midfield role on Friday night as well. Just to also mention, I probably wouldn't make too many changes to the side who won on Saturday against the Brisbane Lions. Even though we didn't play our best footy, we still won, got over the line, and that's what good sides do. Now, just on another note, in terms of Bob Murphy, and this is a little, I'm not trying to criticise the club or anything, but I'm a little bit disappointed. If you were going to rest Robert Murphy last week, why didn't you just do it? And instead of naming him as a travelling emergency, just omit him altogether. Name him as a rested or managed, managed drop or I guess omission. And if Johannesson, and it was great he came in because he played his role very, very good on Saturday. But I just feel that we need him on Friday night. We need him playing against the GWS Giants because this is a big game on Friday night. This is not a walk-in-the-park game for us. We need Robert Murphy to come into the side, captain the side, especially with Wood out, and I know he's an older player and I know he needs to be rested, but why didn't they just do that last week? Just travel him over, but not have him as an emergency and have someone else as an emergency, if that makes sense. I just feel like that was kind of a little bit of a wrong decision on the club's behalf. Just my personal opinion, because I just feel like we need Robert Murphy for the game this Friday night. It's a massive game in the context of where we're going to finish on the ladder, and yeah, it's just my personal opinion. I hope everyone knows where I'm coming from and understands my opinion. I'm sure we have all different opinions on it, but I just think that if Robert Murphy was going to be rested last week, why don't you just name him as rested and not play him, not name him as an emergency, and have someone travel over and be that emergency instead of Robert Murphy, if that makes sense. Luke Evans asks an interesting question. Not really sure how to answer it, to be honest. Is the way we play football a cause of injury or bad luck? Well, really in any sport you play, you're always going to have that little risk of getting injured, whether it's footy, soccer, even tennis, even cricket, or even just running, athletics. There's always going to be an injury risk associated with those with those sports, and I guess it is a little bit of a bad luck, but there's always that risk when you play a sport, especially football. I hope that answers your question. I'm not really sure how else to answer that question, because there's always a little bit of injury risk associated with any sport. Matthew Donald asks, does forgotten man Matthew Boyd state a strong case for coming back into the side in place of Easton Wood, or do Stringer and JJ take priority, or does Boyd come in to give Murphy a rest? Look, I think Stringer and JJ, if they're 100% fit, I think they come in above Boyd, but I think he's been playing very well in the VFL, and like I said before, I hope we see him before the season's end, and I reckon he does state a very good claim to come in for this week's game against the GWS Giants. He's a leader. He's a man who can really place a big influence in the side if he comes in, and can play a big role, and maybe he's the man to come in for Robert Murphy if he does get rested. But I'd like to think that we definitely need JJ and Stringer playing in the side against the GWS Giants on Friday night, and they're a must inclusion if they're 100% right, and yeah. Grant asks, are we going to be able to cover the loss of our three best defenders out injured? I'd like to see if Cloak could go back in defence similar to Liam Jones to help cover into our players get back. Well, touching on your first point, I think we can, of course. JJ comes back this week, so he'll replace obviously Robert Murphy, who's probably was named at JJ's position for the game against the Brisbane Lions. In the end, of course, because Robert Murphy was an emergency but came in late for JJ. So JJ will probably replace Robert Murphy, and that shouldn't be a problem. In terms of who plays for Easton Wood, of course, if we bring Stringer back in, then of course that... obviously, he's probably not going to play defence, but you could probably move someone like Roughhead up back, even though I'm not a big fan of him in defence. I don't think he's been too bad the last couple of weeks when he's gone up defence. And I guess you could even put... Obviously, we've got Shane Biggs in the side as well, who can play back as well. So I think we can cover... our three best defenders. Obviously, Lewis Young's been a real good inclusion to the side. We've got at the moment in the side from the Brisbane Lions game, we've got Bailey Williams, Zane Cordy, and also Matthew Suckling, who's a leader in himself as well. So I think we've got some really good defenders to fill the void. In terms of your second point, I'm not really sure about that particular point. Because I think it's a bit different. I think if Cloak went he's a bit older than Liam Jones. Liam Jones went up defence to rectify his career and try and actually make an influence in the team, whereas Cloak, he's been playing all right this last couple of weeks since he's been back in the side. But it could work. Put him up defence and give him a go and see how he goes. But I think it'd probably be a bit more realistic if we put someone else up back who's probably got a little bit more experience in that area. I don't really think it's I don't really think there's a lot of similarity if we put Cloak up back, because he's in the later stages of his career. Let's say that. Jenny asks, do you think these back-to-back 6-day breaks is likely to have a negative impact on the team's performance this week? Look, I don't think so. If if the players have recovered and recovered right and looked after their body throughout the week, then I don't think it will have a negative effect. It's just the way footy is these days. That's the way it goes. A 6-day break is what you get. That's better than a 5-day break, I suppose. So, but look, I don't think it will. If the players have medical staff and staff that take them through proper recovery and proper ways to get the body right and relaxed and I guess sore free going into a game coming off the back of a 6-day break. So I don't expect it will have a negative impact. Assuming that they've gone through the proper recovery methods. And that is it for this week's episode of After the Dogs Roar. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, if you enjoyed watching this episode of After the Dogs Roar, then don't forget to like, comment and share this video. Subscribe to keep up to date with a new episode of this show every single week right up until the Western Bulldogs' final game of season 2017. And really looking forward to going to the game on Friday night. I'll be there, my first Bulldogs game live in 2017. Cannot wait. I'll be scanning this membership card through and yeah, so excited. Not long now until we take on the Giants. So once again, thank you very much for watching and go Dogs. Hope to see you all there on Friday night. Bye for now.